So how have you been?
I've been good.
You had
Um,
exciting stuff happening.
yeah, yeah. Miyavi concert, AT's movie in the
You
same
had
week.
something big happen at the AT's movie too, though, didn't you?
Yeah. First, boy paper.
That's a big step because you were not going to do boy paper,
No,
were you?
no, not at all. Not touching boy paper. Can't get into that addiction. And then I got a whole handful of them.
Once you start, it's hard to stop though. Like once you have boy paper, it's like I need all the boy
I,
paper.
I, mm-hmm, yeah. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
See, because like I was literally when we first got boy paper, it was that we had gone to a cup sleeve and there were like two included in the cup sleeve pre-order, and I was like, this is all we're getting, just these two. I have like I have boy paper in my car, like because you have to have Captain Hongjung like in your thing because you have to have a captain to like steer you in the right direction. I have Changbin and San like by my workout equipment because you have to have them for inspiration. And like I have boy paper all over my house. I have a binder that's like almost full, and I was like a year ago that I was like, it's just going to be these two little pieces of boy paper, just these two. I'm not going to get any more. I have
Yeah,
so much boy paper now. It's dangerous.
I'm in trouble.
You are. It's hard.
We'll have to see what temptation does. I don't know. I don't
I
know.
am thankful for thrifted boy paper, like finding it at half price books. I am
Hmm.
thankful for unofficial and Lomo cards because otherwise I would be so screwed if I just wanted official.
Yeah, I don't think official is happening at this point anytime soon. But
Yeah.
the other ones, questionable. It's questionable.
Yeah. It's
I don't
hard.
know.
It's start. Yeah. And big stuff happening.
Yep. Now they just sit there in a stack, and I look at you like, we're not adding to this pile, right? Right?
Sure you aren't. Sure you aren't.
Right?
Gotta just remember that Ming Hao would be disappointed.
Yeah,
It's
he would.
like, no, no more money on this.
See, this is the thing. It's like I want all the biases, but the one bias would be like, don't do it, just print it.
Hmm.
So
You don't want to disappoint him.
no, no, I just have to see. I just need one of him to put up and be like, don't spend anything, no
Yeah, no.
money.
Yeah. You've got your shoulder Ming Hao and your shoulder Yuta being like, pictures of me?
Mm-hmm.
No, don't
Mm-hmm.
spend money.
The struggle is too real.
Boy paper. Boy paper's good. I got Heart Killer's boy paper not too long ago, which very much ties into our theme of
Mm-hmm.
Yes Chef right now. That is some very good. I got one of Dunk in his like burger costume, which,
Amazing.
you know, is a vibe. Love that.
Uh-huh.
Very much fits because this week we are talking all about food as a trope as part of our Yes Chef series. So that's fun. And I have to be honest, like when I was working on food as a trope, it was like really hard because food in itself can be a trope, but it's not just like this singular trope.
Mm-hmm.
It's like dozens and dozens of tropes in this like larger category. So you've got like the camp cook, you've got like dinner with the boss, you've got heartbreak and ice cream. You have like all of these tropes that come up again and again within media. And I feel like the reason that we love to see these things is like we love to see that person who's going to step up and like lead, like take the lead and cook for the whole group. Or we love to see that like awkwardness when the boss joins a gathering, which I understand is like markedly different. And the vibe of how this is like how this boss is going to be accepted into the group is going to vary of the culture and country that the show is set in.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to be very different if it's taking place like in the US versus like in Germany versus in Japan, because that type of outing is so different
Yeah.
in those cultures. But like you have those moments of like someone soothing their heart with ice cream or like another sweet treat when it feels like the world is like crashing down on them. And so we see these like all the time. And I feel like they're so ingrained in our life that we're even like marketed to by these tropes. Like we know that if a friend's going through a breakup, they might need some ice cream or picking some up for ourselves when it feels difficult because there's literal like ads telling us to do this.
Yep.
Like that's part of it. And I feel like even the advertising within the shows that we watch, especially the way that like Thai shows include product placement and things like that, we have these ads telling us like, oh, a friend did well on a test. We need to bring them like some snacks, or a friend is studying hard. Like, let's bring these snacks. And so it's like this food is so ingrained in the aspects of our lives, like as different tropes, which is so wild. But it's also this like diverse thing too. I feel like.
Yeah. It's
Like,
a wide range, but it all is like always there. Like
yeah.
it's just there, it's everywhere, but it's so varied.
Well, I feel like food is kind of secondary to like other human instincts that we have, like emotional pain, emotional pleasure, like awkwardness, heart flutterings. But like also the food is so front and center to those moments. So it's
Hmm.
like the food is the focus of the romance. The food is the focus of the eroticism or the fear. I mean, you watch that scene in Ken Porsche and the bread is like front and center. And it's like the food is the focus, but also it's not.
Yeah.
Um, or you have like even I think about like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, where the food is like giant and it's falling from the sky. And so it's this source of sustenance. Like all they've had is like tinned fish. And it's like now you have all these other things, but it's also the source of destruction for this town.
Hmm.
And so it's like food isn't the secondary part of that trope there. It's very much the primary thing. But then you have these other tropes where you're talking about like the big eater trope and how that's like less about what's being consumed and more about what it says about the person who's consuming the food. Um, and so when I think about this, like narrowing down the tropes, I can't like cover all of them obviously in one video. Like I was looking at the number of food tropes that I wanted to talk about, and like I literally could go over every food trope that exists or every single one that like even personally appeals to me. And we could be like having a conversation 10 hours from now and I would not be done. Because like I think about my first major experience in fandom was writing food-based fan fiction and
Hmm.
it getting like super out of hand because like it was just a whole thing within that fandom.
Yeah.
Um and like the first book that I published, Meet Cute, was the main characters arguing over like who would get the last peppermint bark from the shelf. And so for me, like food has always been integral to the things that I create and like
Hmm.
the tropes that I'm intrigued by. So it's hard for me to be like, I'm just gonna pick one or I'm just gonna pick a few. Like
Yeah.
I tried to narrow it down. I tried to not be like, and now we're going to have a 10-hour conversation on tropes.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
Yes. But for me, I think the first big trope that is really appealing to unpack and explore is the big eater trope.
Hmm.
I love the big eater trope. And I think the reason I love it is because of how different it is in Western media versus Eastern media.
Yeah.
And starting to consume more Eastern media has really helped me fix a lot of the problems and like mental struggles I had around being a big eater growing up. Um, and so like when you break down this trope, the big eater trope, as the name implies, is essentially someone who eats a lot. They just seem insatiable. So when you see them, they might, be surrounded by piles of empty plates, or you see them take these massive bites. I think about an old-fashioned cupcake, you see like him referred to like a chipmunk. He has like, or a hamster. He has these like cheeks that are all puffed out because of these big bites. Um, or it kind of like plays into other tropes, like that trope of like cut a slice and take the rest, where you see the character like cut a slice out and then they pick up the rest of the cake and
Hmm.
leave just the slice for the other people at the table. Um, but I feel like there's just something really relatable about this trope. Like, I think even if some of us aren't necessarily like big eaters, the idea that there are these times where we kind of long for that indulgence is really, really there. So, like, if we see a character consume a bunch of delicious food, it's like this comfort thing. It's kind of like when we see it on screen, we're like eating with our eyes. So, when we watch the enjoyment of like them enjoying that food, we're getting that glimpse into how delicious that food must be. And so, like, we want to enjoy it with them, but when we
Mm-hmm.
can't, we want them to enjoy it. And so when we look at Eastern shows, it's tended to be presented in this like really beautiful and delicious way. So when we see like Tai Chi, and I hear this on spot, like he's enjoying this food with such vigor and such enthusiasm. And his joy for eating is like it is what makes us enjoy watching him eat. And I even think that's what Kohei feels drawn to him about is like his enjoyment that he has is so loud and so intense and so passionate. And so you see him happy with every bite of food and he loves to eat. He'll eat his own lunch, he can eat somebody else's lunch, he's still not going to be completely full. Um, or like we see in like she loves to cook and she loves to eat. We see Kasuga walking home with like this family sized chicken meal on the night that she and Nomoto meet. And it's like this amazing thing because Nomoto has been looking for someone, or like Kasuga has been looking, or yeah, Nomoto's been looking for someone to eat these generous portions of the food she's making.
Yeah.
And so when she sees this, she's like, this is the person I've been looking for. This is the person who has the appetite for the things I'm making. Um, and so like you see this trope done in a way that's like, here is this very capable and amazing person, and they eat a lot. And when they do, you can see how delicious that food looks also. And like it isn't always played that way. Like Kasuga has a lot of family struggles, and those revolve around her appetite. Tai Chi initially like doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, and so they're not always like portrayed as these perfect people, but they're portrayed as very real people
Mm-hmm.
who also happen to have this big appetite. And so it's like it's not played about as a joke or like it's even paired with these conversations around like minding indulgence. So you have like in laid back camp, there's it's a manga series where a character does eat a lot, but there's this conversation around her having been overweight, and now she bikes to avoid that happening. But it's not like, oh, now she cuts back on what she eats. It's she balances this big appetite with healthy amounts of exercise, and there's not that level of shame.
Yeah.
Like I feel like here there's so much shame around being a big eater. And it's like it's not allowed. And that's not to say that there's not fat phobia. There's not to say that there's not like conversations like that because there
Mm-hmm.
very much are. But the trope is played differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we even see that in real life. Like we
Yeah.
see this admiration for big eaters in the East in a real way. Like Songwall from ATs not too long ago was on Eat the Menu from the Try Guys with Keith Habersberger. And there's this notable clip of him eating, and he is just like focused on the food. And Hong Jung says, when he's eating, we don't talk to him. He eats. And that's so like, it's not even like, oh, this is a trope in TV shows. Like, this is
Yeah.
a thing where it's like, we want them to enjoy the food, we want them to have the sustenance. And like, last year in a Stray Kids video, one of the things on everyone's mind was how much they love Changbin. And one of the reasons that they wanted him as their match in the mock dating show that they were doing is that he is a big eater. And Felix had emphasized how much he enjoyed watching him eat and enjoy his food. And so there's just this feeling of watching others like get pleasure from something that's like enjoyable like that and
Mm-hmm.
really compelling. And like you want them to enjoy that food,
Yeah.
um, which I really love. But then I get frustrated because we like look at how it's played in the West. And if we step away from like anime and manga or from shows and like commentary rooted in that culture, we see how differently it's played here. And so, like, in the East, you see it kind of played as a trope of like an otherwise serious person it's like this momentary unbuttoned look of them enjoying their life or enjoying the meal. But in the West, what we have is like if they're a real person or implied to be like a real person in a cartoon, a big eater is a glutton or like a lazy character or perceived as like this negative overall character. And if they're not this gluttonous, lazy human, then a lot of times it'll be like that they're implied as an alien or like there has to be some otherworldly superhuman reason that they have to eat that much because
Right.
no human should need to eat that much.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like a Homer Simpson who's just like eating and eating and eating, and you see him as this like incompetent person who's just like not worth any amount of space or time. And he eats because he's so worthless.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you do see like a competent person who is eating like massively, it'll be like a Peter Parker in Spider-Man or Detective Spooner in iRobot, where it's like they're aliens or they're partially bionic or they're a superhero. Or you'll see like Serlina in Men in Black 2, where she's like a literal man eater. And that's cool, but it's like there's this like superhuman reason that they have to consume that much.
Yeah.
It's like if you have to consume this much, there's clearly something other about you or wrong with you, or you're
Mm-hmm.
not good. And I feel like even if you have someone who like isn't being like shown as villainous or like gluttonous, like even if you have a good person who's shown as like a big eater, like Joey Tribbiani from Friends, even a lovable character, they're always like consistently played as the stupid one. Or like the one that just can't fit a brain cell in their head, probably because of all of the food that they've
Right.
consumed. Like there's just no space
Yeah.
left. And so it's like, and I feel like even within the context of that show, like you have their portrayal of Monica and how like, yeah, Joey eats a lot, but he's thin, so it's kind of okay even with his stupidity. But Monica is this person who has it all together and is very competent and was a big eater, but don't worry, she fixed that flaw.
Right.
She fixed her fatness. She's not going to be a big eater anymore. Don't worry. She's skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you basically have either someone who is super super incompetent or someone who used to be fat and fixed it and so they're better now, or you have this like otherworldly being like Hubert from Pixels who like has a vacuum nose and so that's why they're eating so much. And so it's like we present eating so much as a flaw or like this
Mm-hmm.
inherent problem that has to be fixed. And so it's like you almost don't give this sense of like humanity to
Yeah.
someone who's a big eater here. And so it's like this entirely different feeling or meaning around like that big eater trope. And that's why I feel like I really think this trope could be done so well because the East is already doing it so well.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm a small eater. I don't eat a lot. I've never eaten a lot like in one sitting. Like I'm a snacker more than someone who eats big meals. And I appreciate being able to see people be big eaters because it's like I wish I could eat that much. Like there's like that as much as I'm fine with how I eat. It's like I wish I could order a huge meal somewhere and be able to finish it all. You know what I mean? Like that just
Yeah.
you love it so much, it tastes so good, you can finish the whole thing in one sitting. So like seeing that in
Yeah.
Eastern shows, it's like I don't know, you just have this like, oh, I love watching you just eat because it's so nice to see you just like be able to eat and finish and enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. And like for me, it's one of those things of like, I think even eating smaller portions here, we have kind of such that negative perception around food or
Mm-hmm.
around those conversations around food or big eating or perceived big eating.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see someone be able to enjoy food in media and that not be seen as a flaw or you're not worthy of being allowed to eat that much or something is like a huge conversation point and a huge
Hmm.
part of how I've kind of like healed around food and healed
Yeah.
around those conversations of like it's okay to indulge sometimes and it's okay to like really enjoy this meal and not hide the fact that I enjoy this meal.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I feel like it goes both ways. Because I know, like, growing up, I always got the, oh, like, finish what's on your plate. Like, make sure you eat everything that you took, or don't take more than you can eat. And it's like, well, sometimes, A, I don't know. Like, I don't know how hungry I am. I don't know how much I can eat. But then on the other hand, it's like, it's not like I'm purposely not eating a lot either. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
two sides of the spectrum. You're either eating too much or you're not eating enough, and there's nothing in the middle.
Yeah, you've got that whole like idea of, the starving kids in Africa and it's like, well, they're not here to eat the food that's on my plate.
Yeah.
If I can't eat it, I can't help that. Like,
Yeah. So I think it's nice because a lot of Eastern shows they don't even necessarily look at the small eater negatively either. It's just like people eat at different rates and at different amounts, and that's fine.
yeah. And I think that's one thing that I really love about She Loves to Cook and She Loves to Eat is you really have characters across a whole spectrum of
Mm-hmm.
different desires to eat and amounts to eat and
Mm-hmm.
types of eating, and they're all viewed as equally valuable and
Mm-hmm.
equally okay and important. And I really love that because it's like it doesn't matter how much you eat. Your value is not in how much you eat. But the beauty was that they found people who suited what they were looking for. You have this person who eats small but cooks big, and this person who really doesn't cook a lot but wants to eat big and likes
Mm-hmm.
these larger portions, finding each other and getting to spend that time together.
And even later on in the series, when they meet their neighbor and she can't eat in front of people, like I love that they're like, that's okay, you can have a drink. Like, still come sit with us and hang out, even if you're not going to eat anything, or take it home with you and eat it when you get home. Like, whatever your
Yeah.
level is good. It's fine.
Yeah, there was that sense of community and that it doesn't matter if you want to eat what we would perceive as multiple servings or you want to eat no servings.
Hmm.
There's space for you at this table, at this
Hmm.
gathering. There's
Yeah.
room for you here. You can enjoy with us. And that is what is so healing about that series is I feel like, we know it for being that big eater trope, but it also covered the full spectrum of like not being able to eat around people or only wanting a small serving or wanting a big serving. And the conversations that it puts forth are so good.
Hmm.
And actually, it is that manga is actually one that also plays really heavily into the other trope that I have, which is like feminine women can cook. Um, which to me is this like super interesting thing when it comes to cooking and food as an overall trope is like this idea that feminine women can and should cook. And it's this core idea to plots that if someone is feminine in every possible way, that being a good cook is central to that. There's this trope that says like if someone's a tomboy, their cooking is going to be an absolute disaster, or this clear understanding that like this expectation basically that the woman is going to be the one cooking, that their cooking is going to be sublime, but also that the woman in question won't mind this like thought that of course
Hmm.
she's going to be a good cook. Um, and I feel like there's this example, and I can't speak to the Japanese version of My Love Mix Up. I haven't seen it. I know that you have, so maybe you can speak to it.
Yeah.
Um, but Mud Me in the Thai version of My Love Mix Up, um, we see her baking cupcakes, and it falls into the trope because she is very passionate about baking and cooking, and she takes a lot of enjoyment in it. But we kind of get this subversion where we see Adam really get in, or Atom really gets into baking. And he has this momentary stumble where he goes, I'm dating a guy. I really like to bake. What does this say about me?
Hmm.
Like, and I don't even think that anyone intentionally like spells it out as this feminine thing to him, but he seems to sort of have this like stumble or this hesitation of like, what does it mean if I am someone who likes men and who likes to bake, is this weird? Is this like too inherently queer about me? Like, am
Right.
I being kind of like the wife role basically here?
Mm,
Until he finds this male role model who makes him feel a lot more comfortable in the hobby, who owns like a bakery and sells these desserts. Um, and so it's like it's one of those things where it's like this underlying question when it comes to his femininity, and he wants to overcome this fear that he has. He wants to do these things for someone he likes, and he's got this best friend who's really talented in this area, and he has this mentor who's showing him it's okay to be a masculine guy who bakes and also be with a man. And it subverts this idea in a lot of ways that are satisfying without these over, like there's no overt discussion of like you're a man, you can't bake and be with
yeah.
a man, like that's too gay. No one ever has this like big heavy-handed discussion around whether or not this is too feminine or whether or not this is too queer or anything,
Hmm.
but there is this like underlying tone around it. And he does have like these slip ups on the way to becoming good at baking, where like he has these ingrained fears of like burning down a kitchen or simply burning things as he tries to make them. And I know I really like that the show takes the fears and brings them out. Um, because that's something inherent for anyone who has a skill that they're struggling with. Um, when I was a kid, I tried to make a Texas sheet cake and I ended up burning like a large portion of my body with the boiling chocolate mixture. And my mom literally like banned me from making that cake. And like to this day, I still have not made a regular Texas sheet cake. Like we joke that the only reason I'm allowed to make a white Texas sheet cake for any kind of celebration is that it's not the chocolate kind because I
Right.
might burn myself. Um, but that didn't like completely stop me. Like I used to be a food stylist and like I won a national baking competition. So like seeing this thing where he very easily could be like, I'm never going to set foot in a kitchen again. I have this
Hmm.
inherent fear. I could burn it down. And he still does.
Yeah.
And he still wants to pursue that. It's like that's a really good showcase there when they do have this like trope that they could use to be like, I'm not going to go in a kitchen. Like that's pretty feminine. Like they have the ability to do that and they don't use that. And they use this as like this growth point. Um, I really like how they did that. And like
Hmm.
it wasn't this overt like conversation around femininity, but just like you could kind of tell that like underlying push there of like what does it say about me? And how
Yeah.
this mentor was like, you can be who you want to be and also like to bake and also be dating a guy. Like none of those things has to be any big statement about who you are.
Hmm.
And I think that plays into that trope really, really well.
It's
But
it's actually interesting because the Japanese version of My Love Mix-Up doesn't even like they have baking obviously because they have the I can't remember her name in the show, but his friend who makes cupcakes and was wanting to give it to someone, like all of this stuff, but he like baking is not actually a big thing in the show at all. Yeah. So like it's sort of there on the side, but it's not like a huge conversation about it, really. So,
it's so interesting because like there are so many scenes in which baking is kind of central to his story moving forward and like the ways in which he kind of figures out who he wants to be and how he wants to move forward when he's
mhm,
really floundering in that in the Thai version.
yeah,
So it's interesting to hear that like it's not really playing a factor in the
it's
Japanese one.
no, it's not. I think their focus is more on like the two boys trying to figure each other out and like understand what their feelings mean. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily like the internal struggles of that. It's more like, do we like each other? Are we going to go ahead with this? Like, what like other people are feeling about it. It's not really like them figuring things out. Like, they kind of just seem fine with it either way.
That's so interesting. It's interesting how like the story shifts so much depending on like where it's been told.
I guess, and also like when too, right? Because the Japanese version's a bit older. So if they redid it
Yeah.
now, they might have focused on other things. But
Yeah.
And I guess too, they really focused on like very early in the manga. Like they didn't do much of the rest of the story. They kind of just did the very
Yeah.
beginning of it. So
Yeah, that would definitely also shift it too, because the beginning of the manga definitely does focus a lot more on their feelings and where they want those to go.
yeah, I think it only follows like I want to say the first or second like first and second volume, like it's just up to the point where they say like we like each other kind of. It
Okay.
doesn't really go past that. So it's kind of like just volume one essentially, you know?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And see, I don't remember how many volumes the Thai version follows, but it does go into like trying to pass like the test and decide what faculty they're going into. And like it really gets into like the nitty gritty of like their next steps and going to
Mm,
college. And like
yeah, I think
it gets
that's
like
a tiny bit mentioned, but it's very much just like it's kind of 1 year of their high school experience and them, being together, the whole drama around how they even got together in the first place, and then
yeah,
eventually admitting that they want to be together, but it doesn't, there's nothing else. So, like, there's not an internal struggle, and then baking doesn't really come into it a whole lot other than, friends being like, oh, I made this or whatever.
yeah. That's interesting. See, so it is interesting though that like Mudme still or like her equivalent in Japan still has kind of that theme regardless, but that
Mm-hmm.
it's not core to the male characters'
Mm-hmm.
counterparts in the show.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I still need to watch the Thai version so I can compare them because I'm so curious,
Yeah,
but I haven't gotten to it yet.
I still need to watch the Japanese version and compare because I'm very curious about that, and I still need to
Hmm.
compare. We've got to like break them down at some point.
I know.
And see, and I also think like when it comes to that core discussion around like femininity and feminine women cooking, I think like we have to circle back to that whole like she loves to cook and she loves to eat discussion
Hmm.
because you have this very feminine woman and she loves cooking and she loves to cook in large quantities. And for her, this cooking is like such a big part of who she is. But it keeps getting presented to her when she like brings a nice bento into work or something of, oh, you're going to be a really good wife. You're going to make a man very happy someday.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, if that isn't like, it isn't what she is doing. Like, it's not that she doesn't love cooking for the person she likes because she does. But there's this underlying question of like, would their commentary remain the same if they knew that I was cooking for the woman I like? Or like if they knew that this wasn't for a man?
Hmm.
Or even this underlying, like, if I cook this for nobody and just because I love to do it, and now I'm lucky that I also get to make it for someone to care for, how does that shift the conversation? And so it's like her relation to the food she makes being called out as this direct tie to her own femininity by her coworkers. It's like, it's not even about it being directly whether or not she's good enough for herself. It's about whether she's good enough as a woman, as a future wife.
Yeah.
And it's this frustrating thing because for her, it's like this skill and this passion that's not in any way related to her gender or any way related to her potential partnerships. It's just like everyone just seems to know her on the surface level and they see it solely as the skill that's valuable in the ways she can use it to like bag a man or secure
Hmm.
her future or like it's her it's like her talent at work and her talent in the kitchen and her talent in other ways aren't sufficient unless it's attached to
Yeah.
potential male partner. Um, and I don't even feel like we can point at this and say like it's a cultural thing. Um, I was like raised in a very conservative Christian environment, and I went to like a super conservative Christian university. And if people didn't get their ring by spring, then it was kind of like this question of what are you doing with your life, you know? And we even had like a required university course called marriage and family. And so it was like an entire semester of making sure we were preparing ourselves to be adequate wives and mothers
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And so it's like we were paying like $20,000 a year to essentially be told one day you're going to be a wife and mother, probably staying at home to support your pastor husband who you are
Mm.
going to meet at this school. And that was like the lesson we were learning.
Yeah.
Like that was why we were spending that money. And it kind of like almost felt a little like mail order husband-ish that like if you spend enough money at the right school, you're going to get the right pastor
Hmm.
husband. Um, and so for me, like I had this microwave cookbook that like would make it so I could cook like seasoned meatballs and brownies and things like that in the microwave. And that was like going to set me apart from all the other girls because look at what I could do. Like I didn't have to reserve stove time in the senior girls dorm basement. I could make these things in my dorm and make fudge and make party meatballs and make all this stuff and make people happy. And so I had this sense from these classes and from what I was learning, like, I'm better than you. Like, I'm going to have a secure future. It's going to be easy for me to get a boyfriend and get married because that was like that rhetoric that was being
Yeah.
pushed at me at the time. And so it was like all of my friends were going and like not cooking anything for our group hangouts. They were like pooling their money to get like whatever they could at Taco Bell and cutting it in like tiny little piece burrito pieces, or going and buying the biggest 7-Eleven Slurpee and like divvying up into little cups. And every single one of them got a boyfriend sooner than I did. And I was devastated because I was like, I'm putting in all of this effort. I'm doing the cooking. Like, I should be the one who's getting the ring by spring. How is this like not happening? And it's like this
Hmm.
big cultural expectation of like, if you are a good enough like cook and provider in this way, you're going to get the man. Like that's how it's supposed to be. And I didn't understand how that wasn't working for me. And I feel like so, in a way, seen by she loves to cook and she loves to eat because it's like that's the same thing being pushed at her.
Yeah.
But also, as someone who is queer, as someone who is not sucked into that like rhetoric anymore, to go, I can enjoy this just for myself, or I can enjoy cooking for the people I care
Hmm.
about. And it's not tied to my worth as a wife or tied as my like tied to my worth as like someone who was born a specific gender or something. It could just be a thing that I enjoy doing because I enjoy doing it,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's like so releasing for me. Like it's just like this big thing of like I feel so much freer having read that manga
I
to be
think
like,
that
it's okay.
whole thing was frustrating for me too, like seeing the coworkers being like, "Oh, you'll be such a good wife. Like your husband will love that." Because I'm like, she could just cook because she likes to cook. Like when I cook,
Mhm.
it's like I cook food that I want to eat because I want it to taste good. Like it has nothing to do with anybody else. It's like she could just like
Yeah.
cooking. It doesn't have to be a qualification for anything else.
Hmm. But it's like when you hear that all the time, or it's like, oh, let's cook this dinner like for, because this is what your dad likes. And so he's going to want you to cook this meal. Or, well, we better not cook this because your dad doesn't like this. And, you've got to learn how to cook for your family and for your husband
Mm-hmm.
someday and change what you're cooking to accommodate your husband someday. It's like when you're in that rhetoric all the time, it's hard to think like, oh, I can't just cook for myself. I
Yeah.
can't just cook because I love to cook. I
Yeah.
can't just cook because this is meaningful to me. And that was like a big deal to me to see kind of that, oh, it's okay just to love cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really love when that trope gets subverted in a big way. So, like, I don't know if I told you recently, I read The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today,
Yeah.
which is like one of my favorite mangas right now. It's ongoing and I am obsessed with it. But in it, the two main characters are this woman who literally cannot get her life together in any way, and her cat that is like this large anthropomorphic, walks on two legs, wears an apron cat. And the reason that he grew that big is because he has to take care of her because of how useless she is. Um, and he's a huge fan of an idol group who is all about singing but also cooking,
Mm.
and they like even have their own cookbooks and everything.
Yeah.
And so like one of the very first things he does is he teaches himself how to cook using this idol group's like cooking shows and stuff. And it's so important for him to learn how to cook meals So she won't starve because if she's eating well, then she'll go to work every day. And if she's going to work every day, she'll earn money to keep buying him cat food. And so that's like his whole thing is like
Yeah.
take care of human so human could go to work and provide cat food money and everything's fine. And so like when she very first started the job, she's like relying on nothing but convenience store food and like everyone around her knows this. Like they know that she basically just eats like cup noodles and like
Hmm.
convenience stuff. But then eventually she starts bringing in these like gorgeous bentos to work and they are just stunning and like so well thought out and like they're just super intricate and sometimes they're character bentos and stuff. And so everyone around her keeps saying like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to find an amazing husband with your talent. Like you're going to marry someone with how skilled you are and talking up her skills because of course feminine women can cook."
Yeah.
And she's a feminine woman and she's bringing these meals to work. But all this does is this stokes her fears because now she's panicked, one, that she's going to get found out and someone's going to know that it's not her making these bentos. And she will somehow have to admit that it's her cat making them. And like, how do you actually say, like,
How do you
my
explain
cat is
that?
making these gorgeous lunches? But then her other fear is, what if my cat gets a wife and pushes me out of the family because I'm so incompetent? And then there's no one here to take care of me, and I have to go back to eating convenience store food. And so, like, this thing is like, he's the one who can cook. And now he has this skill. So he can use that skill to find a mate. And I won't have this level of care anymore. So she has this internal stress every day as everyone like praises her meals. And
Hmm.
she like knows I didn't do anything. I did nothing. I have not tried. And so you have this like super unique subversion where you have like the most feminine woman and everything in her life looks so put together and her meals are super well made. And all of this is this massive sham because this is a woman who would stumble home drunk in the dark and sleep in her front doorway because her apartment was like so filled with trash she couldn't even make it a few steps inside. And like she adopts this cat, and all of this carefully painted femininity is her male cat who takes care of her and like mends her clothes when there's a tear and buys the groceries and makes the meals and cleans the house and is like doing all of the expected housewife tasks.
Yeah.
And so anytime there's like a day or two where she has to go on a trip without him for work or whatever, she doesn't know what to do and she doesn't know how to explain to people that she can't do these things. And it just completely flips the script and you realize like how much food and femininity are not linked. It's
Yeah.
just this level of care of like wanting to be good at cooking and taking the time to like learn and grow that skill, which I absolutely love.
It sounds great. Like I definitely need to read it because how do you explain a giant cat that takes care of you? Like,
Yes. And it's so funny because like everyone in the neighborhood will be like, "Oh, there's a man in a giant cat suit." Like this is so fun.
what?
And it's like that's
But
just
that
their assumption is that it's someone in a cat suit, but it's a
but
man
that doesn't
supporting.
even make sense either. Like,
I know. I just want to know what I can do to get my cats to give me that level of care because I'm like, I cannot get out of bed some days. I just need Lolo and Danny to take care of me.
yeah, yeah, Stella could make dinner. That'd be great.
It would help. So I think like on the opposite end of food as a skill and food as a gender role or food as like all of these very structural things
Hmm.
is the concept of food as comfort.
Hmm.
So it's almost like we have like these very firm ideas of food and like ways you learn to improve culinary arts or the boxes you fit yourself into as a cook, like as a person who's cooking, as a person who eats. You have this other thing of like this abstract comfort food. And that realistically can be anything. Like when you hear about people's comfort foods, it can be like, I love this specific dish that my mom cooked for me as a kid. Or it could be, I have this wacky food combo you think is like super gross, but I absolutely love. Or like a super niche, like food I had this one time and it's super hard to get, but it brings me comfort.
Hmm.
And so, like, you have these very, very different feelings of what comfort food is and how it can like vary from person to person. So like for me, one that I had growing up was like I would eat hot oatmeal with sugar stirred in and chocolate chips stirred in to where they were like mostly melted, but not all the way. and then milk poured in to cool it off a tiny bit. And for me, like I had that for breakfast like every single morning. My mom make it for me all the time. And I have like these super distinct memories of eating the oatmeal out of like these green plastic bowls we had. And one time, like I slept over at my friend's house, and my friend had told her mom that I liked chocolate oatmeal in the morning. Like it was oatmeal with chocolate chips. And our mom was like, oh, okay, yeah, I could do that. And she's like, we have malto meal. It's kind of like oatmeal. And she put the bowl of malto meal in front of me and drizzled chocolate syrup on it. And it was so sweet because you could like tell that she really tried to make this
Yeah.
breakfast that I would like and that would be
Yeah.
like super comforting. But the texture was so wrong. It was like super gritty and the flavor was so off because it was
Not the
chocolate
same
syrup
thing.
instead of chocolate chips. And like I ate it. I wanted to be polite. But I think all of us have these ideas around comfort food. And it's just a specific way that the comfort food has to be done. And like I know maybe that's the autism talking in a lot of ways where I'm just like, it has to be a specific way. But there's like this way that comfort food, it's like you have these dishes you eat at holidays, or you have these like things that it's like, this was my childhood breakfast, or like this was a specific snack that I had. And
Yeah.
that's like the comfort foods you want to make for yourself. Um, which is like it's kind of got that like, this is my favorite hoodie kind of vibe, but like from a food perspective.
Hmm.
Um, it's like when I see that like as a trope, it stirs up so many specific thoughts. Cause like I feel like honestly, we think about what comfort food means to us or like what our comfort foods are, especially when we see other people like eat their comfort foods. Um, and I think one of the best ways I've seen this handled is actually outside of the world of like BLs and everything. There is a show on YouTube called Last Meals, hosted by Josh Scherer of Mythical Kitchen. And he'll have like all kinds of people on. So he's had actors, musicians, like other chefs. So like one day you could see like Post Malone on, and like the very next day could see Gordon Ramsay. Um, but the whole concept is he tells them this is the last meal that you're going to eat. Like treat it as though like this is your last meal. Um, and they go into an interview where it's like their discussions around death, their thoughts on mortality, their impact on the world, and like the ways in which the things that they've done contribute to like their legacy, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, but as they have this conversation, they eat this like grand last meal of all of their foods that they want. And he asks them like what they want as their last meal. And you would think that like they have the opportunity to ask for anything. So it could be like they could ask for caviar, they could ask for Michelin starred stuff. Like Josh is cooking like a chef. He's a 5-star Michelin. Okay. Like they can ask for anything and his team will try to make or buy it. Like they can get a specific like in and out burger that they want, anything. Every single time, what they ask for is something so specific to them. Like it'll be like their grandmother's pie and like a specific recipe that their grandmother used to make, or it'll be like a family recipe or a super simple meal. And it's like, that's what people want. It's like going to be like a massive plate of wings that they really love that they had from this specific memory.
Hmm.
And it's like people don't want something extravagant. People want something that they remember or something comforting or something important when they're thinking this is going to be the last meal I ever get to eat. And I mean, it's not even like it's actually their last meal. Like Josh isn't taking them out back and like shooting them after the show. Like, but when you think like I'm picturing that this is my last meal. I'm
Yeah.
talking about mortality. I'm talking about death. Like I want to be comforted in that conversation. And so you think about like how that resonates and what you would pick there and like how you would want comfort in that scenario. And so I think that show really does it really well. Um, and I think about how comfort food, like that is a very obvious example, but comfort food is so broad. It's like sometimes it's a character getting sick and another character making them porridge to feel better. And that feels special because it's like this very specific way of being like, this is what my mom would do for me if I were sick, or this is this person really cares because they're bringing me this comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, I think a really incredible portrayal of comfort food um, is from the show Cooking Crush. And I know that I mentioned Cooking Crush in our top five video, and I don't know if this video is going to be going up before or after our top five. So I'm going to kind of give an overview anyway. But in that, Off Gun's characters play very drastically different people. Gunn's character Prem plays an aspiring chef in cooking school who makes a lot of flubs in the kitchen, but he's really trying his best. Like, he is part of this ragtag group of friends who really want to make good food, and they love getting together to watch like this weekly reality cooking show. And when they do, they are like locked in. They love the show and they're even like applying to be on it. He meets Off's character, Dr. Ten, who's a medical student who is like juggling so many different things. His mother has passed away. His father has a new girlfriend who he hates. He's dealing with exhaustion from school, and everything just feels so overwhelming. And so one night after a ton of classes, he is like desperately hungry and he smells something in the culinary school and it smells like perfect. So he follows his nose and literally physically runs into Prem, who is there late at night trying and retrying this meal he got criticized for. And he insists on eating this meal. And Prem is like, no, you can't have it. Like he's received such harsh criticism from his professor. He's like, it's terrible. But this meal evokes so many emotions for Dr. Ten, which we learn over the course of the show why Prem's cooking specifically is so important to him and what core memories are hitting him and how this is unlocking something so specific for him. And cooking and the art of like wanting to learn to cook from Prem isn't about the food, or even just about the time with Prem as they grow closer. It's about the comfort that these dishes bring him and what ties that they have to each other that they may not really know. Um, and you see him grappling with the complicated pieces of his life and the ways in which food play a role of like bringing him closer to kind of understanding them. And I don't think like I feel like the show gets over criticized, but when I think of comfort food, I don't think any show really portrays it better
Mm.
than that when it comes to like food as comfort. Um, but I also think of like there are smaller moments where we see comfort food really pop up. Like both in the Japanese and Thai versions of Love in the Air, we see Prapai or Fuma prepare for it, porridge for like a super sick Sky or Kai to take care of him. And in both things, he notes that he's doing more for him than he's ever done for anybody before.
Yeah.
And so you see that he's trying so hard to provide this comfort, going, okay, what do I do for someone I'm trying to comfort? What do I do for someone? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best anyway. And so it's not even necessarily about the food, it's about the effort that's being put in to provide that comfort of like, okay, I'm going to try extra hard. And you see other times where he's trying to comfort him with food get rejected, where like he'll leave the food at his door and you see Sky just like throw it in the trash and like, I'm not even going to eat it. And so when you see this moment where it's like, I'm trying really hard, I want to take care of you, and it actually gets accepted, it's like, okay, we're like breaking through here with food as comfort and with
Mm-hmm.
this effort that we're making. And we see kind of finally that difference of like, okay, I'm getting through your shell a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's really nice. And then like you then see in a kind of different form in the series We Are, you see this comfort food in Tan and Fang's couple. They're played by Oh Boom, and it's so funny because it's almost unintentional in a way because Fang keeps inviting Tan over and he keeps making spaghetti. And so you think like, oh, this is the super comforting meal between the two of them. And it's so sweet that he keeps making him spaghetti. And eventually we come to find out that it is the only meal that Fang knows how to make by himself. And so it's like by having the same dish again and again, it's because he genuinely doesn't know anything else that he can make,
Yeah.
but he just wants to do his best to make something special for the person that he loves. So it becomes this like comfort food between them of this food where they get to enjoy their nights alone together and like having this thing that is just theirs that's shared between them. And it even ends up like leading into the micro trope of spaghetti kisses, which is adorable. But it's just one of those things where it's like food as comfort because I'm doing something sweet for you and is the only thing I know I can do right. And so this is our food. This is
Yeah.
our thing in this comforting moment. And I love that. But I think my favorite use of comfort food is like when we see it subverted because like sometimes our comfort food can be like a food that we just turn to like day in and day out. So it's not even like comfort, it's just routine.
Hmm.
The routine itself is comforting, and maybe that's how I relate to it because I'm autistic. So I'm like, I'm happy to eat rice and veggies every day. Um, and so it's comforting because I don't have to think about what I'm going to eat. And I make it literally so often I could probably make it in my sleep. So like I see this thing that's not called out as comfort food, but it's something that I see like in anti-reset. And I think the reason that maybe I feel this is a big one for me is that so often as a neurodivergent person, like I feel like we get compared to robots or to android-like characters. But in anti-reset, it feels like this reverse of all of that and this like subversion of that trope too, like the android kind of thing, because you have this professor who I feel like is the one being shown as neurodivergent. It's not the android sent to help him that is neurodivergent. It's him. Um, so like when you see him day in and day out before he gets his android, he's eating convenience store foods. And it's very difficult initially for him to start eating home cooked meals,
Mm,
even though he's not the one to cook them. Like he's not having to do the effort. But these home cooked meals feel wrong to him.
yeah.
He doesn't like them at first. He won't eat them at first. He's just like, these aren't the foods that I eat. I eat my convenience store foods. I eat my cup food, my cup noodles. I don't want this. And so he doesn't initially like them. Like those aren't the foods he turns to. But eventually he starts to warm for them. Like he starts to be like, okay, maybe I want these. Um, and so he realizes over time that like he's used to the convenience store foods because the convenience factor was the comfort. Not that the foods were. It was like that they were a simple thing that he could go to every day and that was simple. So when he gets this Android and someone is preparing the meals for him and he gets used to having these meals that are like made fresh and have garden fresh ingredients, it's good. And he kind of starts to find the reasons to eat them. And then this is kind of where the trope gets subverted. The Android breaks. And so suddenly he's kind of thrust back into eating convenience foods again.
Hmm.
And suddenly he's like back in this position that should be comfortable for him. This is what he wanted. He wanted to have his foods, he wanted to have his convenience and his normal life. But those aren't comforting anymore. Like nothing about them feels comforting. They feel empty and they feel hollow and they feel pathetic. Like none of that feels good anymore. And he doesn't feel enjoyment in them. They're routine, but not in a comforting way.
Yeah.
And so they're routine in these ways that like says, I'm going through the motions to stay alive, but I'm not actually living. And that's where you see the subversion of that trope in the most fascinating way. It's like, here's the thing that has always been a comfort to me, and someone abruptly changed all of that. And now they're gone from my life. And they took the thing with me. And it doesn't fill the void anymore now. I need I don't need my comfort foods back. I don't need the thing that that they took from me back. I need them back. I need the feeling that they gave me back. And
Yeah.
so it's like finding out that it wasn't the food that was comfort. It was like the being that was comfort. It was the existence of this other person that was comfort. Um, so I kind of look at like this idea of how, that feeling of grief and loss in those moments kind of ties into a German word, Kummerspeck, which is quite literally grief bacon. And the idea of like the weight you gain while you're upset or grieving, and how you like eat for comfort when something is ailing you, which is that idea of like turning to ice cream after a breakup, or that feeling of like, well, I'm going to go back to eating the convenience foods and just eating whatever because it'll feel better.
Mhm.
And so you kind of like sense that grief in tangible food form, I guess, which is, I guess, when we're talking about comfort, I kind of like went off the rails and started talking about the overall feeling of discomfort. So I
But I
guess
see it.
I went from comfort food to discomfort food,
It
but
actually reminds me of like in our dining table when Utica and Minoru are both having like really tough times and they end up running into each other. And then Tane actually suggests like, oh, we should make magic for dinner. And it's like the ramen fried rice that their mom used to make. So
yes.
Minoru makes it. And like I think it's interesting because like obviously for Minoru, that's probably a very difficult meal because it's like a special thing his mom used to do to make him feel better.
Mhm.
But because Tane doesn't really understand like the grief that's going on, he's just like, we need magic because everybody's upset, right? Like obviously.
Yeah.
So they make it and have dinner and everybody's feeling better, but it's almost like the food wasn't the magic. It was the fact that they were all together having dinner and like comforting each other, but it still worked.
Yeah. And the fact that like Tane so innocently suggests that is also such a huge thing because he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't understand
No.
the grief or the pain that comes with that. He only understands this is magic. This is going to fix things.
Mm-hmm. Especially too, like it's kind of like sad and heartwarming at the same time, but Minoru has this conversation about the fact that Tane has never actually had his mom's version. He's only ever had his version because he was too little. His mom never got the chance to make it for him. So he's kind of like, I wish Tane could have had it from my mom, but I'm glad that he knows that it exists. You know, like it's that weird,
Yeah.
it's comforting, but also painful at the same time.
Yeah. It's like she lives on in that form while still having not had that influence of that specific food. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the hard thing. There's there's a book, um oh, what is it called? I have to double check the name. Okay, so it's the Kamigawa Food Detectives, and it's about this father and daughter that own a restaurant, and people can go in there and they will tell them like everything they know about a particular dish. And the dish will be like, oh, I had it at this specific restaurant, and this is kind of what it tasted like, and this is why I need to have it. Or my wife used to make this dish, and I can't seem to make it right, and my new wife can't seem to make it right, and I don't understand what she did differently. Here's everything I know, but it might be like the smallest things, and they'll go and like have them come back in 2 weeks and they'll make it for them, and they'll be like, this is why it tasted different when she
Mm-hmm.
made it. And it'll be like she was using ingredients from this specific town. She was using water, and the water where you live now tastes different. It's a different spring. And so this is what's different about it. But they're not just giving them the food, they're giving them that chance to kind of walk through the moment, and they very much set the scene. So this one person, they would be like, well, what you would do is before you take a bite of it, kick off your shoes and sit down. Here's the paper. Turn on the news. That's what you would have been doing when you would sit down and eat this dish. And so they get them into the scene of that moment. And there was this one woman who wanted to like recreate this specific pork tonkatsu for a dying ex. And the daughter is like, okay, well, we have to get it to her quick because he's dying. And it's only like after she comes back and eats it and they send her away with some to go take to him that the father goes, don't you understand? Like, he's already gone. Like the picture she showed us was in the springtime. She's wanting the memory. She's not wanting to share it with him. She just did by coming here and eating it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it's like talking about that importance of like grief and memory and having that food one more time, but it's not about the food, it's about the setting in which you would have experienced that food or the feelings that you had while eating that food make the food taste different and
Mm-hmm.
make the food have that certain feeling that it's not going to have if you're eating it with your new wife and she doesn't quite know how to make how your ex made it and everything. She doesn't quite know how it is. And she's a new wife and you've kind of moved to this new part of your life and new city and everything. It's not going to feel the same. I think also I think about in Ken Porsche, you have Vegas and Pete, and you have which they are a whole separate mess and a half. But you have like one of them who is sitting there like only ever liking noodles, and then when they're apart, like crying into the noodles because it's not rice.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you didn't even like that to begin with. You didn't even like it. And now you're sitting here crying because it's not that, because that's what he made you. Like, let's be real.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those things where it's like we attach these certain foods to certain people. And because of that, it's like now I'm going to be emotional over this.
Yeah. Which,
And like, not me also sitting here crying too. But
yeah, I mean, they're the extreme, but like, yes, valid.
yeah,
Like, we
yeah,
see it a lot. Like, oh, I
yeah,
made these cookies for you, and now you're not here to eat them, and I'm sad.
yeah. It's like, it's a heartbreaking moment. But I feel like, yeah, we definitely derailed from like comfort food into discomfort food. So I feel like the goal for me was like to be like, hey, we're talking about comfort food and then like perfectly segue into the next part of what I wanted to talk about. But then we ended comfort food on like such a downer that I feel like I have to be like on the complete flip side of that in the food trope roller coaster. Let's talk about romantic spoon feeding.
Mm, yeah, definitely. Good transition.
Yeah, super good transition. Um, as someone who loves to cook, I feel like I'm the type who's very much like get out of my kitchen and let me work. Um, so for me, like personally, spoon feeding doesn't feel super romantic. Um, like I get it. I get it on the screen. I get the
Hmm.
idea of it. I know why other people like it. Food is a way to connect. And I get this idea of like giving someone that. Um, but I can't seem to wrap my head around it. And I don't know if it's because I'm too ace or if it's because I'm too controlling in the kitchen or I don't know what it is. But I like romantic spoon feeding on occasion, but I'm more interested in like the subversion of this trope. Um, I don't know what it says about me that I'm more into you're my hostage and I refuse to untie you, so I'm gonna have to feed you. Like, that's the thing that makes me go, oh shit, you actually care about this other person. Like, Lord pray I'm never a hostage, because that, like, even the slightest bit of humanity will mess me up. Like, I'll be so quick to get Stockholm syndromed by like the slightest bit of humanity.
Here, have some water.
Um,
Okay, I love you. Mm.
yeah, like, okay, I'm yours, that's fine, whatever you say. And they're like, I'm literally just trying to keep you alive, shut up. um, But like one of the more recent examples I think of is in the Heart Killers. We see two instances in the same episode, and both are a subversion of romantic spoon feeding, but very different. And I'm obsessed with this. So in this episode, you see Fidel and Style, and they're on the run, and Fidel is so intense on this idea that he is literally going to kill Style. He is like, I am ending you. You have betrayed me. I hate you. Go away. And like, it does not matter what Style does with his flirty little sexy ways. It's not getting through to Fidel. Like, Fidel is not having it. He is needling at him. He is like trying to be flirty. He is trying to like show off. Um, but they end up in this situation where they're at dinner with other people And the whole thing that like at this dinner is that the couple they're with, one of them betrayed the other by cheating. So you hear this whole conversation about why did you lie? And all of this is ringing in Fidel's head. Like Style didn't cheat, but the betrayal is still
Hmm.
there. And so during that day, you start to see Fidel cracking, like he gets a small smirk here or there. And it's like, okay, he might give in to Style today. And it's great, but you see them at the table. And Styles like hyping up how Fidel is as a boyfriend and how he's so sweet. And he lifts a spoon to his mouth. And in this situation, like they have to keep up appearances. So Fidel takes this bite. But it's like obvious that there's annoyance, but there's also attraction. And so you see this complicated set of emotions playing out on Fidel's face, where it's not romantic spoon feeding. It's spoon feeding tinged with like a hint of, oh shit, I'm still in love with him. Like it's that like reluctant spoon feeding where
Mm.
it's like, I'm gonna take this bite. I don't want to like you as much as I do. And then you have the flip side, because at the same time all of this is happening, you have Bison and Kant. And Kant's betrayal has cut so deeply, and Bison does not trust him at all. And you've got this idea that Kant has screwed him over, and there are layers. Because Kant's betrayal made Bison betray Fidel inadvertently, because Fidel had warned him not to trust anyone, not to fall in love. But also, it hurt him on a personal level. So you have this like deep, multi layered situation where he feels guilty, but also he's scared of the consequences, but also he's heartbroken on top of it all. And so you've got Bison like has Kant all tied up, and Kant is just like begging, begging, begging. I'm so hungry. And I'm thinking, this is it. This is that hostage moment I'm so obsessed with. Bison's gonna like feed him. And he walks over with the spoon in hand and he kneels down all sweetly and he looks in Kant's eyes and then he throws the food on the ground. And in that moment, it like underscores that sense of like, you think you have me, but I'm going to get you the way you got me. Like, I will get you back. I will hurt you. And you see both of these situations happen in the same time frame. And you see Bison, who is so willing to love, just be like, it's gone. You're not getting this. And you see Fidel, who is so reluctant to love, being like, oh, crap. This guy has me. He's got me. I don't want him to, but he's got me. And you see the contrast of Bison refusing to spoon feed Kant while Style is spoon feeding Fidel. And you see the same trope, romantic spoon feeding, being subverted in drastically different ways, being used in drastically different ways, and being used so well in the same episode of a show by two different couples in that show. Um, and it's funny because in both instances, you see this look of just overall animosity in the couples. But at the same time, you're rooting for them. You want them to succeed. And so you have this massively different feel in that situation. And you want to be angry like Bison, and you want to be like, come on, Fidel, just forgive Style. He's so cute. He's so sweet. And the way that they handle that trope is so well done in conveying all of that and making you feel what they feel.
Hmm.
And that's so far different from something like My Love Mix Up, which is a completely different vibe and a completely different energy. And so, like in that show, in the Thai version, you see they're at this university site for like to preview what it would be like to go there. And you see a Tom so nervous after he successfully cooks something and doesn't burn it. And he offers up a bite to Kong Tap, and there's like this giddiness and this hesitation and these feelings of like, I need this to be good so my partner can enjoy it. And it's so outside of the same realm that it's hard to believe that any of these come from the same trope. Like it's hard to go,
Yeah.
all of these are rooted in the same core trope, the same
Hmm.
core idea. And they're all being spoon fed to us they all have such a different feelings and different vibes, and they bring out such different emotions in the characters and the viewers and everything else. Um, and I do think there is like that degree of like the feelings in my love mix up where you make something yourself and you succeed and you think, I want this person to like what I made, or like I want anyone who tastes what I make to like this. Not even just like I want the person I like to want to like this. Like I want anyone to taste this.
Yeah.
That's even different from like romantic spoon feeding in the context of I got you this food from the store or I'm feeding you something someone else made, but it emphasizes that feeling of care because you made this. And it's not even necessarily like love, it's just more like different emotions of like, is this thing that I did for you going to be something that you enjoy? Um, and how those feelings will move differently depending on how much involvement you had in the food. Um, and I think that really sweetens it and like and conveys like this is a huge deal. Like I'm doing this because I love you. I'm feeding
Yeah.
you because I care deeply about you in some way.
It's interesting that like one trope has so many different ways of using it, but
Yeah.
I feel like the underlying emotion a lot of times is the same. Like it's just, mixed with betrayal or mixed because like even like the heart killers, right? They obviously are having issues when this is going on, but deep down, there's still some level of I at least liked you at some point, right? Like there's
Yeah.
still that underlying feeling there, but it's just
Yeah.
now layered with other things.
That's the reason that this hits so hard that I've thrown this food on the ground is because I cared in the first place. If Bison had been indifferent to Kant in the first place, that moment wouldn't have hit as hard. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it would have been like, oh, what a jerk, but it wouldn't have been like, oh, you have every right to throw that on the ground. Like, screw Kant. I can't stand him either right now. Like, it hits harder
Yeah.
because there was love, because
Mm-hmm.
there was care, because there was connection, and that connection is being pulled away. Or like I think there's even some people who would empathize with Kant in that moment and be like, Bison, seriously? Can't you see like why he did the things he did? And who are going to be like aching for him and be like, you're better than this. Don't throw it on the ground. And so it's like there's going to be a slew of emotions in that point because there was connection.
Yeah.
So whether like they feed each other or not, or whether or not the bite is tinged with that like regret of care, or whether it's just like that giddiness and that excitement and that, oh my gosh, I hope he likes it kind of energy, the fact that care exists is the point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like to me what makes it so interesting, no matter how that trope or like that trope getting flipped on its head plays
Yeah.
out on the screen.
Because there's always layers. Like there's more to it than the face value.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. Like, I feel like the ways in which we see food related tropes play out on a screen bring out so many emotions. Like, even that same trope or that subversion of it, like, brings out different thoughts depending on how it's used. And
Mm-hmm.
like, all of that just brings like so much sweetness and pleasure to the moment. Like, we all have to eat. And like, some of us have different relationships surrounding food. And so that can be positive or negative or indifferent and completely neutral. But food is a universal human experience. Like it's something that is more universally human than romance. It's something that's more universally human than family in many ways. Like food is just a core thing. And so I think that's why I resonate with food as a trope more than a lot of other things as an aromantic person, as an autistic person, because for me, it's this tangible sign
Yeah.
that says, like, this is a tender and important moment. And this is something I want to remember. Because for me, like, food is that form of connection and that way of interacting with others, whether this person is my family or a platonic partner or a friend. It is that way where I can like show someone love and connection in like a tangible way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think that's why like food tropes are a huge deal to me, and that's why I'm never going to get tired of seeing characters cook together.
Just all the
Like
food all
they're
the time.
great. Like I want to see characters cook together in Cooking Crush, or see characters bring another character a meal, like in I Hear Sunspot. I feel like as long as there are humans who seek to connect, there's going to be food as a form of connection and
Hmm.
conveying emotions and conveying kindness and conveying anger and conveying different things. And I think that's why there's so many categories and subtropes of food as a trope, and why there were so many that I didn't even get to touch on.
Yeah.
Um, which I guess is where I think we should maybe ask, like, what everyone's favorite food trope is. Because if you have one, like, I think people should definitely leave it in the comments below.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah, let us know
I,
because there's so many of them.
yeah, and I really do think like there's a very good chance that we will do future episodes expanding more on food as a trope. And so
Yeah.
we want to hear what you think and what you might want us to cover when it comes to food and
Do
shows.
it. We're always talking about food, seemingly, even though we never plan to.
We
So
don't mean to talk about food, it just happens.
it always happens. Or we're always watching a food show, even though we didn't plan to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
just find us for food, I guess.
We swear we have other topics we will cover. It's just food happens to be a big one.
Yeah, exactly.
Danielle noodles. See, we even named our cats after comfort food. One of them is shrimp lo mein and the other is Dan Dan noodles.
Perfect.
Get down so we can keep going. Thank you.